guys, how's it going? I'm Sydney from PhoneDoc.com. This is the HTC HD2 from T-Mobile. It's a high-end smartphone, has Windows Mobile 6.5 with HTC Sense. And this is the Motorola Droid from Verizon, has Android 2.1, no user interface over it, just stock Android. Now they're both really popular smartphones, so we're going to put them head to head, see how they perform when they're put up against each other. Now, there's a lot of ardent followers to both of these operating systems. Windows Mobile has a lot of followers that just love the operating system. There's a lot of Android fans. And so a lot of, which one comes out the winner is going to be based on personal opinion. But we're going to try to just stay unbiased. I'm just going to give you the facts on which one performs better in certain areas. There may be sometimes when you don't necessarily agree with me. But I'm just going to, give you guys an overview of everything, all the features. And then in the end, you can decide for yourself. So anyway, HTC HD2 and the Motorola Droid, let's go check them out. So first we'll start off with just physical design and hardware. You can see the HD2 is much bigger than the Droid. The Droid screen is only 3.7 inches and the HD2 screen is 4.3 inches. So quite a bit bigger, and the screen on the HD2 is just beautiful, and one of the most popular things about the device, it just has a very bright and vibrant screen. And then you can see the HD2 is definitely a lot thinner than the Droid, mostly because the Droid has a slide-out keyboard, but even then it's very thick, very heavy, kind of clunky, but the HD2 is really thin, really sleek and sexy, has a nice outer design. So, I think in terms of physical looks and just the design of the hardware itself, I would personally say that the HD2 wins. We'll go on now to the camera. They both have a camera, and here is where they're pretty much the same because they both have a 5 megapixel camera, they both have dual LED flash, both have zoom, and they both also shoot or capture video. So in terms of the camera, it's pretty much the same, and I've tested both cameras, and in testing, I think they both performed equally as well, and they also both have nice gallery features. You can see here you can flip through like pictures, and then you've also got the nice gallery feature with Android 2.1. So now moving on to battery, here is where they do really differ. The HD2 has a 1230 milliamp hour battery, and the Droid has a 1400 milliamp hour battery. So you would naturally think, oh, 1400, that's definitely a lot better than 1230. But that is not the case. Okay, the Droid's battery would go dead after a day of barely even using it. I mean, not even really using it, maybe checking my email or maybe checking Twitter. I had notifications off. I had, I don't have a lot of active widgets. I have a few widgets, but you can see these are kind of static right now. Pretty much the only widget that's working is the weather widget, and then the clock, and the music player isn't playing. So the battery on the Droid, and I think pretty much everyone would agree, it's not the greatest, it's horrible, you're going to end up charging it every day, whereas on the HD2, the battery was great. And, I could let it sit, or I could use it for an entire day, and the next day the battery would still be, charged enough to be able to use it some more. And that was really nice. Really nice to be able to just set it down and the next day pick it up and it not be dead. That can get pretty frustrating. So with the battery, the winner is the HD2. So now the processor, and the processor is, again, one of the things that the HD2, people are really excited about it because it has the 1 gigahertz Snapdragon processor. And the Droid only has a 550 megahertz processor. It's an Arm Cortex A8 processor. Obviously, in terms of numbers, the HD2's processor is, definitely better. In testing, I actually got mixed results. There were some times whenever I was testing it with loading apps and or programs, and the majority of the time the HD2 would win, whereas with web browsing, the majority of the time the Droid would win. And we'll get onto web browsing simply because we're here talking about processor speeds. We'll get onto that. Now the HD2 has Internet Explorer, but it also has Opera. It's the default browser when you go here to Internet. If you launch that browser, it's Opera by default. Now, Droid and having Opera adds a lot in terms of speeds, just because the way that that browser is designed, it's generally faster than other browsers. So I'm not going to quite just compare it to the stock browser that comes with Android, but I have Opera Mini here, which you can get on Android, so this is a fair competition because you can get it for free. Okay, so we're here on the home screens for each browser, and I'm going to type in Phone Dog on each one. Dog.com. PhoneDog.com, and then we'll just let them go. So you can see there the Droid loaded much faster, and the HD2 is still working. And by now the page is pretty much loaded. It still has halfway to go, but it's still pretty much loaded to where you could navigate it. But even then, the Droid got to the page much faster. And so, you know, like I said, when it came to web browsing, the majority of the time the Droid won, whereas when it came to loading apps, the majority of the time the HD2 won. So we'll go here to a load Slacker radio on both of the phones. And you can see the HD2 loaded just a little bit faster than the Droid. So, you know, when you're loading apps and programs, the HD2 probably is going to be faster just because it has that better processor. You know, but I did, you know, in testing, I found that web browsing was definitely considerably faster on the Droid. And that's something that I really admire about the Droid and that I really love about the Droid. Web browsing is faster. When I compare it to any phone, the Droid is always the fastest. Now they do both have Wi-Fi, so that's, you know, definitely good to have that option. And when testing it using Wi-Fi, I had the exact same results. The Droid was still faster. So I'd say when it comes to the processor, processing speeds, the winner is the HD2. When it comes to web browsing, the winner is the Motorola Droid. But one thing they're going to have to take into consideration, even though the Droid is faster, the HD2 has this huge, beautiful screen. So see, if you turn it in landscape mode, you know, it's just so big. You can see the whole page right there, and you know, it really is nice. It's nice having that huge screen. Even if it does take a little bit longer to load. So, you know, to me, the most important thing is speed. And that's why that's why I'd say the winner is the Droid. But, you know, you may feel differently about that. You may not care about the speed, whereas the huge screen is something that, you know, you really think is cool. So you know, I'll let you guys decide, but in the meantime, I'm just going to say that the Droid is faster on web browsing, but the processor is definitely faster in loading apps with the HD2.